show you more. So I have the hubs back together. This is still on just with these two diagonal bolts. I'll be eventually putting the other two on it, but I just wanted to see what it looked like and how it rests. I am noticing that there's quite a bit of toe in this way. I don't know if you can see that or not, but when I spin this blade's constantly wanting to push out a little bit, so I have to be careful on it right now. But other than that, the other side's tracking really well. It's actually dead in the center right now. So the wheel on that end is the one that I had to cut the lugs a little bit. So I don't have them. I just have them finger tight. So if you can tell, I can definitely tell it's got some wobble to it. But other than that, it tracks well. So the blade is not really tight, but this is as close in as I can get it. So I actually have a little bit of play yet. So I'll get it tight and ready to go whenever I'm ready. I don't have the guides that are going to run down and keep this thing straight when it's actually cutting. But I do have them made. I might modify them a little bit, but I haven't done. Anyway, I have the whole carriage put together right now. I added this bottom section, the 4x4 running across, just add stability on the bottom. I've added this scrap piece of 2x4 at the top here, which looks like hell, but that is all I had. I might replace it later as well, but this is just for the top. This is what's going to support the boat winch whenever I have it fully secure. Right now it's just held on there with a couple wood screws so I could test it out. But this is my system of bringing it up and down. And all I have is some pretty small gauge cable tied to these 4x4s. One on this side, completely different cable on this end. They both are exactly the same distance from this point to I think it was the end of this pipe here. So exactly the same distance this way. So I have them running up to block and tackle here, and these are the same distance from this corner on either side. So I wanted to keep the distances the same. And then they both run here, and then the distance from this center of this pulley to the center of this is the same distance from the center of this to the center of this. Same exact distance, so I want to keep everything as even as possible. I do have pipe. I think I might have showed you that in the last video, but I happen to have a miter joint drill press, and it cuts square holes. So I went ahead and cut square holes, shoved that steel square tube in that I did have. I think I had it back here, and I was worried that it was gonna cause the front end of this to pull this way a little bit, so I wanted to give it as much stability as possible. And you can see it's flush on this side. It runs all the way down to here, which is I didn't measure, but you know, it's like 2 inches under the bottom of the blade, and it'll go into here. So I'm still going to need to make a stop so that the blade doesn't run into these legs. And let's see, what else have I done here? I have my pulley I need to set up. I have my pulley, I just don't have it back here yet. Don't need it to be yet. And I just have these pipes, these rails, or whatever you want to call them. I just have them sitting in a hole saw hole here, and I countersunk this 2x4 with a hole saw and just chiseled it out. It's sunk in about an inch there on both sides. And then to keep it from moving, I just have one wood screw pressing up against it, and the same thing on the other side. I have one wood screw, and it's just pressing up against it so that it can't go up and down when I try to move this carriage up and down. This thing's pretty clunky right now, but it does work. I don't have any measurements set up or anything. And this thing being on wood screws is absolutely terrible. Hopefully I get that fixed tomorrow. But the thing moves up and down, so I'm happy right now. I didn't want to get this wet, so at night I put a tarp over it. And my basement, not my basement, my little garage area, it actually has a patio up above my roof. So I have it sitting on some shims, so it's not completely on the floor right now. Hopefully that'll keep it away from most moisture. Now I still have to work on a method of giving this a little bit of toe in, toe out capability, because right now it's just only able to ride flat on this, and I can just adjust the tension. I'm not real fond of that, especially since I can tell right now it's got a toe in. So I'm going to work on that. I have this engine mount that I've been working on. It's got structural support underneath. This is, I don't know, some poplar I had. And I'm just going to wood screw this to the back right here. And it's just going to come out to about here. And then I've got some conduit piping in the other room, and I'm gonna run that through this side with a hole saw and shove it in the middle, and then shove another piece in this side, and it's gonna lay like a V, one going that way, one going that way, maybe not to that extreme, but anyway, it's gonna go to the end of that engine mount and give it even more support on back, because I'm actually worried about the thing sagging a little bit with an engine on it. Not that the engine's going to be huge, but you know, wood screws aren't like my favorite thing to use for structural support, which is why on some of this stuff I'm using bolts, and you know, I really want to use bolts as much as I can. It just so happens that it's pretty difficult to use them connecting 4x4s to 4x4s and whatnot. So anyway, this thing runs real smooth. The only thing is, I'm pretty worried about moving it too much right now, just because I can tell you right now this blade's going to come off if I give it one more revolution. I started this video with it touching this, and I haven't moved it much, so it's got plenty of toe in. So I need to work on that, and I think next time I catch back up with you guys, I'll have the engine mount on, and I'm going to have, I don't know if I'll have the engine, but I'll definitely be doing that pretty soon, and I'll have that winch bolted